Alright, so here is my technology investigation number 4 spreadsheet. As you can see, I have up here the first 2 points in the upper left, and it has the yellow sign next to it saying please input a point. And so, for example, if we input a number like 3, then it'll say please input a y value because the point is not complete. So if we input like 7, then it'll show the point, but if we delete the 3, it'll say please input the x value. So it shows the point after, and then for the second point it still wants to input a point. And so what this spreadsheet basically does is it just finds, it takes in the 2 points, calculates the change in x, the change in y, from there figures out the slope and the y-intercept and constructs the equations. So in the bottom right you'll see we have some points that we're going to check. So our first point that we're going to look at is going to be 1, 2, and then our second point will be 3 and 4. And so as you see, after it gets both of those points, it calculates the change in x and the change in y, and then from there it takes the change in x, change in y, and calculates the slope and uses the slope in a point to figure out the y-intercept, and from there it calculates the equations. I added a few things with the equations for if the slope were 1, like in this example, that it would take the 1 out like you would normally do in an equation. You wouldn't show a 1x, you would just show an x, and so I added a little bit extra there. And so then that's just like a basic equation. For our next equation, or for our next 2 points, we're looking at if we input the same point, 3, 3, and 3, 3, at the slope it'll say please enter different points, and it won't show any of the change in x, y intercepts or any equations because it's the same point, so we don't know what any of the equations would be. And then our next point that we're going to look at is going to be 3, 1, and 4, 4, 1. And so again, it calculated this change in x, change in y. It figures out that the slope is going to be 0 and the y-intercept would be 1. And so then our equation is just simply going to be y equals 1 for our slope-intercept form, and for our point-slope form, it'd be y minus 1, or just 0. And so this is another little thing that I added. Whereas in our traditional point-slope form, we would have y equals 0x plus 1, and I added it around that if we did get a slope of 0, it would just drop that and just put the 1 in as just y equals 1. And same goes for the point-slope form. I don't have the in parentheses x minus one of the x values. I just have it equaling 0. Alright, and then for our fourth and final point, we'll be looking at the point 2, 4, and the point 2, 5. And so here it calculates our change in x and change in y, and we know that slope is going to be change in y over change in x, and so we'll be dividing by 0, which is not allowed in math. And so then our slope here will just be undefined, and so then our equation wouldn't actually be a y equals equation, it would just be a simple x equals 2. And so I just had it input for the point slope form and for the slope intercept form, x equals 2. And yeah, so that's pretty much my spreadsheet. It'll pretty much take in any 2 points you can give it and come up with the equations for the corresponding line between those 2 points.